speaking of people, can we talk about Neil?
Yeah.
So people wouldn't necessarily know that you were really, really close with Neil Peart.
Mm-hmm.
And you held his secret when he was ill for a long time, which was honorable and what I would expect of you. So he confided in you that he was sick quite a while before he passed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about how, because that's a really interesting version of manifestation too, because you were such a fan of Rush and his.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about how you guys met, how you ended up becoming friends, how you, did your friendship turn into you guys writing together, or did the writing together turn into the friendship?
Well, the friendship turned into writing together.
Okay.
Rush is my favorite band. You know, they are probably, if I had to distill it down to like, is there one musical sort of influence that sort of put me on my journey or gave me the confidence, or not even the confidence, just the ability to chase the dream, it was Rush. And so the way I met Neil, it's the most bizarre thing. And I guess it just is manifesting in a way, right?
Probably.
I don't know. But I had met Alex and I had met Geddy, and they had been very, very kind to me. Alex, in particular, early on was super encouraging.
How did you meet them? Just in passing?
So David Bendith, who was our A&R rep at RCA, Canadian guy, and knew those guys. They were sort of in the Toronto circle together on some level, and so David facilitated an intro for me with Alex, and he just was so gracious and so cool. And so I would go see them and say hello at shows. Neil was obviously very much kind of more reclusive. He wasn't interested in that spotlight.
Yeah.
He liked doing the job and playing with the band, but lots of meet and greet type things just weren't his thing,
right.
socially speaking. So, but he was selling a car, and and my friend he was trading a car to a friend of mine who had this dealership in Texas, and and my friend in Texas needed pictures of Neil's car. So I'm just trying to think of how to really, so I went over to Neil's house to take pictures of Neil's car to send to my friend back in Texas. And as I was trying to think of what to say, my hands are sweating. It's, oh my gosh, this is Neil Peart. Like, what do you say to your favorite lyricist, your favorite drummer, like in your favorite band? Like, what do I do? And he sort of reached down to me as he was shaking my hand, and he said, "I'm a huge fan of your work."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And which was also like the most Neil Peart thing to do. Like, instantly take the disparity between us and eliminate it.
Yeah.
That's just so him.
Yeah.
Let's just be two guys looking at a pretty car.
Right.
And that's what happened. And I was wearing a watch that he had purchased a similar model for himself earlier on in his journey. He was wearing a watch that I thought was great. So we're talking about our watches. We're talking about this car. Take the pictures, whatever. And then it was really kind of like, okay, see ya.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. But his wife, I know his wife, Carrie, had encouraged him, because he was new to the LA area and like maybe didn't have like a large social group. I know she said, well, what about that guy? He seemed cool. He seemed nice. So, yeah, whatever. Eventually we went out to dinner, all of us, and we just became friends. I mean, he really became similar to you, like a big brother. And when I was a kid, I thought that as we grew up, it's like we start as one, and then we grow in our sort of the number of friends and loved ones in our lives. It's almost like an inverse pyramid. It's just gonna be more and more and more and more. I've got so many best friends and people who love me, and I love all these people, and it's just the best. And what I've realized is it's far more like this. Yeah, right?
100%.
And so when someone comes into my life that is like that, the only word that comes to mind right now, and it is beautiful. Like, he was so beautiful as a human being, as a friend, as a brother, as a mentor, as a loved one.
How did that friendship develop? Like, was it a, because you were friends how long before he died?
At
least 10, right? Or?
Yeah, no, longer, 20, 18 years, something like that, 15, 18 years, something like that.
Okay.
Because it was around the same time, I met him around the same time that I met you.
Okay.
I believe.
So did your friendship progress in terms of like large blocks of time, or was it just sort of like?
Yeah, no, it wasn't large blocks of time. It was like, hey, come over. He had an office. He had a garage where he kept his cars and he did his writing. And he would just, he called it the cave. He'd come down to the cave and let's hang out. And so we would go and we'd have lunch or something. And it was a lot of email correspondence, some phone calls, although he was less of a phone call guy.
Mm-hmm. How did the writing?
Well, the writing thing was kind of interesting. So obviously, in the same way that I would have dreamt of writing with you, but was scared to do it, I dreamt of writing with Neil. I was scared to do it. And he had written, his books are amazing. The books he wrote are really incredible. And he was coming out with a new one, and he was putting a poem in the sort of forward of the book. And he said, hey, can you take a look at this? Tell me what you think. And it was this poem, and it was beautiful, of course. As I read it down, there was a line that I thought, maybe he might be able to do that one. I mean, it's great. I couldn't do what he just did. But there's one line that maybe, because he's so good, maybe he could beat it, Maybe he could, maybe. And he asked me what I thought of the poem. And I knew that this was the moment. This was it. This is the moment where I'm either just a sycophant fan of this guy, or I'm this guy's friend. And I've got my 10,000 hours, whatever, in this craft. And so if nothing else, I know that I can trust my instincts that there's probably something worth talking about, at least here in this one little instance. So he asked me what I thought. I remember he was cooking dinner, because he was a hell of a cook. And we were in his kitchen. I was sitting down at the island, and he had made a key lime pie. His key lime pies were, I just got chills. They were to die for, like the most perfect, just the best thing ever, right? So there was a key lime pie just sitting there to my left, the lyric sheet right in front of me. And he asked me what I thought, and I said, it's amazing, Neil. It's beautiful. I think it's so great.
But
and And there's this one line, and you and I have talked about this and used this phrase a lot. I think it's a really important and good phrase to use. I think there's one line here that you could beat. Mm-hmm. I think you can beat this. And so I would just encourage you to maybe like have a think on like, could I maybe top this one line? Other than that, no notes. Fantastic. It's great. I love it. And he heard me, and about 15 minutes later, he said, you know, you and I should write a song together.
Wow.
It was that close in time. Like we went.
It clicked for him, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to voice this now."
At the very least, he knew that I would tell him what I thought.
Yeah.
You know, and so we wrote a song together called "Even Now" on a record we did called "Burning the Days." And it was a really interesting experience because it was unlike any other collaborative songwriting I've ever done. You and I sit down in a room, maybe you have a title, I've got a line for a chorus or something.
We've always got something started.
There's something that we can try, but we don't always go with what we start with, right?
Right.
So, but we're starting more or less from scratch with maybe an idea or something, right? So Neil says, you know, I've got some lyrics I think might be really good for your voice, and you know, can we get together and write it? And I was like, of course, yeah, great. So he comes over to the studio and hands me a piece of paper that is, you know, the heaviest stock. You know what I mean? Like what the Declaration of Independence was written on, right? Yeah. The Magna Carta, you know? And borders, fonts, different fonts. Like, I mean, it is done. Yeah. These lyrics are done.
It's already a numbered lithograph.
Oh yeah, signed at the bottom, 1 of 100. And so he hands me this sheet paper, and I'm reading down these lyrics, and they're amazing. Thank God.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I had hardly any suggestions or thoughts. But the interesting thing, as I was reading these beautiful, the concept of the song is even now, after all this time, you still think of me and you still miss me. I guess we're even now. That's are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you
so good.
Kidding me?
Good. I love that song.
And so as I'm reading it down, I get totally inspired, and I just pick up my guitar and I start playing chords and singing the melody and singing the song. And I'm recording this.
And this doesn't ever happen with you or me.
No.
Where we write the music first.
We write the music.
Almost always.
Yeah, we write the music first. And then there's almost an inevitable assembly a process of assembly that and it's building up and tearing down.
But more importantly, it's that the music inspires the lyric.
Right.
Where in this case, the lyric made you go, oh, I hear it now, which is really rare for both of us.
And the whole thing, I played it down.
Wow.
And it was done.
Wow.
The only thing that happened is that there's a bit at the end where the lyric is all that summer in the moonlight, you were dreaming, I was believing. Those are the lyrics that he wound up coming up with. But as I sang it down, there was this extra part. Ba, 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 ba. I started singing that, and when we listened back to it, he said, "Was this a piece that you had?" And I said, "No, I have no idea what this was. It just came." And I said, "Could you possibly maybe write some lyrics for that thing at the very end?" Of course he did. Yeah. And then we were done. Wow. Yeah.
First one.
Yeah. Well, that's really the only song that we ever wrote together.
That's right. He played
on 2 records and I think 5 songs on 2 records, which was, I mean. And
you showed me the some video and stuff that you took in the studio of him.
one thing that always kind of amazes me that you wouldn't necessarily think when you listen to Rush music, because they're so technically adept. These guys are the best musicians, you know, on the planet, and they're very because they're so adept. They flow in between different moods and time signatures and key changes, style, you know, everything. Just it's all seems fairly effortless, right? But I didn't realize how much Neil plays for the singer. Until I was singing and he was like the locomotive, like steam train from hell, like bringing us like to the next place.
The best drummers ever do that. The best drummers in bands are the guys who, they can play anything, but their instinct is to play to the lyric, to the singer.
Yes.
But in Neil's case, that makes sense because he was such a brilliant lyricist on top
great
of being
lyricist,
a great
and he and Geddy, their sort of workflow was so kind of like, hey, we're going to try to build each other up, you know, and continue to lift our game up as high as we possibly can. But yeah, singing the track down with Neil Peart, you know, accenting those moments the way he did. Yeah, it was. And that's one of the hardest things about this.
Yeah.
Is when you found somebody who you feel like you're never letting go. Like I'm never letting you go.
Right.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm never going to let you go ever.
Okay.
And I never, ever, ever would have let Neil go. And I've had to, you know.
But only in the physical.
That's not much consolation.
I get it. I get it.
I know that I know how grateful I am for the moments we shared, but I'll never be okay with it.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he, he had tremendous? What'd you say?
I said we're a barrel of laughs here today.
Do you feel? One more question about Neil. Because he's a guy, for those of you who don't know Neil Peart's personal story, aside from the band, is a guy who suffered unimaginable tragedy in his life.
Yeah.
When he passed, he was how old? 70-something?
67.
Yeah, 67. I was going to say 66. Yes, 67. Thank you.
Okay,
Jamieson.
so given that he was still young, did you have a sense from him that he was sort of like life well lived, even though it's shorter, or was he like, oh fuck, I'm getting ripped off?
I mean, yes is the only answer to that. You know, I think, and who the hell am I to say? We did talk about a lot of things.
I'm curious because someone who's had such a particular relationship with death in their life,
yes,
as he did, I wonder how the resignation of your own demise is informed by such tragedies.
Yeah,
Maybe you can't speak to it.
No, but I do know that he he famously originally rode his bicycle from, you know, the tour bus would drop him off 50 miles away from the gig, and then he'd ride his bicycle to the gig.
Right.
You know, and then as he got a little older, he started riding his motorcycle, and he would do a, 400-mile, 300-mile motorcycle ride on the back roads, for 6 hours before they got to sound check. And I do know, as this was happening to him, you know, he did sometimes joke around like, I made it. Because I think he was concerned, rightly so, for his safety on the motorcycle. You know, spending so much time on the bike.
Sure.
Sort of put him at risk for for an accident,
Sure.
And I remember when he was sort of literally, he hung up his motorcycle in the cave. And I remember him saying something along the lines of like, I did it,
That didn't get me.
that didn't get me.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I don't know. I just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've both suffered losses like that I don't think it's worthwhile to try to get over.
No.
Like, why?
Well,
No.
no.
But you can also be like just this kind of conversation about him. I hope that people have conversations about me when I'm gone like that.
Yeah.
I would hope. That would make me feel like it was a life well lived.
Well, also to be grateful again, like to come back to gratitude. Like, I'm so glad to have known this beautiful human being.
Yeah.
And to, I felt this way with other people and, animals in my life. Like, they're going to be here for a certain number of days. And how beautiful that I get to share some of those days with them, And so I will always be thankful for those beautiful moments. And I'll be thankful for the challenging times too, when I called him and he showed up for me. And,
I still remember where we were. We were in a car going, and you said,
yeah,
I've been keeping a secret for someone. I've been holding a confidence. And now I need to unburden myself because I need my brother to like help me.
Yeah, because it was all...
It was coming down.
It was all coming down, and I knew that I needed people to lean on because I had been kind of
you've been
steadfast. I mean, look, it's one of the absolute proudest it's one of the proudest achievements for me in my life, honestly.
Yeah.
Like being there for this guy and not letting him down. I did not let him down.
I love that.
And I cherish that. I will be eternally proud of that.
Yeah, good for you.
But there did come a time when it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to fall apart. I'm like,
you were in...
I'm going to start falling apart, and I need to, there are people I need to help me stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was very proud to be one of those people.
Absolutely amazing.